back to Fold in the Cheese. It is your boy, K-Troll on the mic, and it is Super Bowl week. Super Bowl week. Let's go. This is the week of the year, and I am joined today to capture all the magic of Super Bowl week by the Don Billingsley to my Boobie Miles.
Hey, Billingsley, you ain't got to worry about holding on to the ball, man.
What's that?
Because you ain't going to get the ball. Your job is to be blocking for Boobie. I don't care if your daddy is over there crying. Shut up, do you?
Our team's been playing with each other for a long time.
Friday Night Lights, that's right. Ethan Gilford, what's happening?
Friday Night Lights, yes. I like you just said it's the week. Like the week of something? No, just as the week. This is
the week.
Yes.
Period. If you know, you know.
If you don't know, now you know.
YK.
Just don't do the letter K, as you've learned. That is very insulting.
Indeed. I did learn that. Tell the fine people about that real quick, because I wasn't aware of this, and we probably need to alert everyone who's listening to this.
That's over.
I'm not aware of.
Well, that's over like 30, let's be honest. Because if
you're
under 30, you probably realize this. But I actually learned this from my wife. I did not know this at first, but I guess the kids nowadays, if you're texting back and forth and said, hey, I'll meet you at the store in 5 minutes. If you just reply with the letter K, that's like basically just a big old FU to the face, which I did not realize until my wife told me. I was like, oh, okay. So I literally made an effort just to add in the O. I was like, okay, like just would in any of my text streams. So I'd just be texting you, Kemper, for like the longest time. I was like, hey, you want to, hop on a Zoom and start working some stuff out? K. Huh. Okay. I guess he's mad at me, but that's fine.
Right.
Even 10
you want
minutes.
to yell? Jeez.
Like, ouch. So yeah, I kind of let you go on with that for a few months at least. And then I was like, hey, just so you know, I know you're not mad at me, but if you're ever texting anyone else, don't just reply with K.
I've been very, very conscious of that ever since. And it's like a explosion in my mind, because I've done that for years. And what makes me really think back is I managed people who were in their early 20s, and I'm just they
just throwing K's out there.
It's all the time, I'm like, man, I wish I knew that earlier,
Man, you wonder why you had so much turnover on your team. You just
so much turnover.
So much. You're just swearing at all your teammates. That's great. Good job.
I have historically had the least turnover of all. Just saying. I'm your favorite president, better than Washington, better than Lincoln.
Oh gosh.
That's me.
That's you. Very good.
Yep.
Easy there, DT.
There, DT.
So yes,
don't say just K as a response whenever you want to say okay. And I feel like it looks kind of dumb writing O and K. I just think K is much quicker and easier, and it's a one letter. It's a doot doot send, but
right. That was my interpretation as well. Just the easy one letter, bing bang. But nope, kind of do the other half second, put the O in front of it.
Now I just do thumbs up sometimes. I'm just like thumbs up icon. Got it.
True. It's funny. I either respond in words or GIFs. I don't do emojis. So I don't. It's either GIF or GIF, whatever the hell. I don't care. GIF meme or words. So I don't do emojis.
I do use the Giphy a lot.
Yeah.
I've gotten way more into the emojis recently. I find myself using them pretty frequently.
I have noticed that actually. You gave me this face, the eyes wide open, like ooh, that face this morning. I was like,
let's talk through what your favorites are currently, real quick.
I don't have on your emojis, so I don't really
have on your frequently used.
Well, that's a little deceiving because my son will just grab it and just send 30 emojis to whoever.
So the poop emoji is on there.
All right, let's see. Most recent.
Frequently used.
Actually, a couple of these I did send to you, so I take it back.
Oh,
there's the diamond.
Well.
There's the diamond, the DNA strand, a battery, a football, and mind blown. Those are the top five. Top five.
Those are like mostly all trading card references. So I've got a ton. I've got like.
Well, I mean, I have like
30 or whatever.
30. I just went with top five. I just went down the first line.
The first line is your first top five?
Yeah.
So I have the sideways laughy crying face, which I
use use that one a lot.
I do like that one because I'm always like
These are the tears coming out.
Squirting out of my eyes. I've got the thumbs up is number 2. I use that a lot.
Yeah.
The face palm. I'm a big face palmer.
Oh yeah.
Classic. Yeah. Then I have the wide eyed, like, ooh. and then I've got the shrug. I don't know.
You go for like full body emojis because the face palm is a full body, the shrug is a full body.
It is, yeah. I like to give it my all.
I guess so.
What can I say?
Okay.
I go all in.
So yeah, I'm a GIF guy through and through. I will always respond. I could literally hold a text conversation with just GIFs.
I think you and I could for sure.
Yeah,
I could
feel
certainly
like I
do
might
that.
try that as a challenge one day. Like if anybody texts me, only GIF replies. That's all they get.
Only GIF replies.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Yes.
Okay. So speaking of GIFs, the Super Bowl's this week.
Great transition.
I don't know.
Could have been like
no, we want to talk today, and we've done this before, but for our new listeners and to recap and just let you all in on the personal lives, all the nostalgia, we want to talk about some of our Super Bowl traditions and our favorite memories. We're going to revisit the league-winning rosters that you forgot that we made at the beginning of the season and see how that panned out for us. Kind of interesting. And then, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Just a lot of prep work. Again, it's the week. So obviously there were no games. Although, did you watch the Pro Bowl at all?
I watched a little bit of the Pro Bowl. I watched some of the skills challenge, dodgeball. I saw dodgeball.
Okay.
I saw the long drive challenge as well.
Which I don't get, but okay.
Hey, why not? I love that they do a skills challenge like that. I think that's kind of fun, and you get points for it.
How about that? Once again, I did not see anything live. And yes, I guess as I found out, the last YouTube clip I watched was a
Mac Jones picked Darius Slay.
Like, why is he there? So anyway, I actually did see one from this year, and it was the quarterback skills competition. Derek Carr lit that shit up, man. He's like, hey, if this is gonna be my last time here, I'm gonna light it up.
I love his comment. He said some comment like, they're like, you were on fire today. He's like, yeah, in this building. And he's like, yeah, I mean, obviously, I wish I'd been on fire more in this building.
I guess I didn't do it enough. So yeah, that was good for him. I like the fact that he was a good sport about it because that's pretty rough. Leading up to the skills and even to the Pro Bowl, I was reading that the Raiders might cut Derek Carr prior to the Pro Bowl because there was some clause in his contract that like if he gets injured in the Pro Bowl, his salary for next season is guaranteed. So like, oh god.
That would be wild if in flag football. Hey, he could get mallet finger. That's a very common flag football injury.
Myles Garrett dislocated his toe. So
there you go.
That was no bueno.
Yeah.
But I did. So again, I didn't watch it, but I did watch some YouTube clips. And I did see Tyreek Hill get trucked by Jalen Ramsey.
I did not see that. I didn't see hardly any of the game.
So Devontae Adams was going for the end zone. And he saw Ramsey was coming down on him. So he quickly, they were like 2 yards away, pitched it back to Tyreek Hill, who was right behind him. And Jalen Ramsey's momentum was just carrying himself, didn't see Tyreek and just plowed him over. So he scored the touchdown, though.
Oh, he made it. Oh, good.
Yes.
Go Tyreek. Cheetah. I love the cheetah.
Okay. So, yes. So we saw so as again, no real football this past weekend. So it is leading up to the Super Bowl. Man, it's just finally here. That after championship weekend, that week leading up, I feel like is the worst. Now this is also the fun one because you get to see like the press conferences, you get to see all kind of like it leading up. Like I think last night was Super Bowl opening night, which I think is fun. Just the random questions players will get. Sure. So this is the week that you kind of get geared up for it. So yeah, it's pumped. I'm pumped.
You're pumped. He's pumped. Yeah, I'm pumped as well. And I want to talk about some of our traditions and all that. And I want to talk about some of our favorite memories, some of the favorite games that we remember watching, favorite commercials, whatever it is, and see what we come up with here. Yeah. I think we've talked a lot about the food at your Super Bowl experiences. I would like to mention a few of the locales, the venues of my Super Bowl watching days. And in my small town in Illinois that I grew up in, there were always a couple places that we watched. There was one for like a decade, and there was like another one for the next decade.
Wow. Okay.
And it was so you always kind of knew where you were going. That was like the big invite, And so we had the guy who owned my dad's company.
You're popular.
We were.
Yes. Now, is that from Wicked? Popular? No.
Yeah, it's from Wicked.
Okay, yeah, just making sure.
What kind of question is that?
Well, I know you're a big Broadway guy. I have actually seen Wicked. I saw it one time, and that's why I actually knew it. So
I've seen it several times.
You should be proud of me.
Have seen the soundtrack a million times.
You should be proud of me. Be proud of me.
Okay, I guess I'm a little disappointed. If you've seen it, then you should know.
was a while ago. But that's the fact that it even popped in my head, I think speaks volumes to the impact it left. It does have a great soundtrack. It does.
It has an incredible soundtrack. Idina Menzel. Come on, Kristen Chenoweth.
Is that
Let's go.
Kristen Chenoweth? Was that she the original?
She was the original Glinda.
Glenda, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway, we were popular. Popular. So the guy that owned my dad's company used to have it at his house for a while, and it was like a smaller get together, but it was always a good proper rager. And that's when I remember all the NFC East teams winning every year. It was always like the Redskins or the Cowboys
You're
or the
going way
Giants.
back.
That's like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you were born in what, 85? There's no way you remembered the Redskins winning.
Sure, man. I remember them being in it. I remember them being relevant. I remember all of those years. It was Redskins, Giants, Cowboys were always
The Giants were the early 90s, so like 91, like 90, 91, 92-ish. Two of those were in there. Cowboys last one in 95 or 96. 96. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just, you know what? You just go ahead and talk. I'm just going to pull up the Google and we'll just.
All I'm saying is, if you remember the Redskins winning, there's no way it was later than 92. Granted, there's like a 3-year gap. I'm not sure. 94, 95 with the Niners, where they beat the Chargers. Then the Cowboys beat the Steelers. So that was like 95. And again, the Giants were 90, 91.
92. How about that?
The Redskins were 92?
Yeah, they beat Buffalo in one of the Buffalo.
Okay, I was
the
wondering.
Second Buffalo loss.
When Buffalo made it 4 times. I was going to say, if you said AFC East, because it was just the Bills for 4 straight years.
Yeah, it was always the Bills. So the Bills lost to the Giants, the Redskins, and then Dallas twice in a row.
12. So yeah, that was a kicker. Twice.
That's like that heyday. You know, it's like 91, 92. It's like first grade, second grade. Of course I remember that. It's like when I started really understanding what it was, you know?
Yeah.
San Francisco Super Bowls, I remember the Bengals. I remember the Ickey Shuffle. I remember loving Ickey Woods.
Wow.
So I kind of remember that, but that was like 90, you know, 89, 90.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, way sooner than me. As I said, my first memory was of the 49ers Super Bowl when they beat the Chargers, and that's where my love for Steve Young originated. So yeah, I mean, I honestly don't remember prior to that.
Well, then you're just dumb.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it impossible that I can remember. It just makes you dumb.
Clearly. K. Yes, you can also just say K. But yeah, we didn't really have too many like big traditions. Like my mom and dad were like, they would watch it, but not too in tune, but they knew I liked it. So they would get all into it. And so my mom was always big on snacks and little appetizer stuff. So she would always make the platters, but that's where little hot dogs were born. And that's why I will always have, whenever I'm invited to any party, whether it be a bourbon party, a pajama party, a pizza party,
Pokemon party, pizza party. I'm bringing hot dogs.
I'll always bring little hot dogs.
Hey guys, it's a pizza party. I brought the pigs in a blanket.
I brought the pigs in a blanket. This is what you need. So yes, that's what I will be bringing this year as well.
So you're very popular. Yeah, you're very popular. Got invited to a party in your neighborhood, so you'll be bringing the pigs in a blanket.
I will be. So I'm
very good
about that.
I always remember that as well. I was so I think it's one of the key differences you mentioned is that your parents weren't like way into it. They loved it because you loved it, and like they did it for you as well. But like, and my parents were like way into it. My dad and my brother and I always watched football growing up, and so we were into it more. And they wanted to have like socialize. My mom loved socializing and hanging out with people. So
your mom, I could never guess that.
Could never guess that she loved socializing. So there was like I don't know. There's a lot of reason for it, and at that time too, like. One difference is my dad was in like corporate America. Your dad's in academia. And so probably not as popular in academia for that to be like the dean or the provost or the president of the college has a big party, Super Bowl party for everybody like that. I don't know if that happens or not.
Hey, remember, if you're in academia, don't bet on it. Don't bet on it.
Don't bet on it. Penn State. We are. So yeah, they probably maybe not as much of that in that profession. Whereas my dad was like in sales, and that's like a competitive, you know, they're all
competitive field anyway,
all into that kind of stuff anyway. So, yeah, all right. I do remember. I remember the early 90s or 1990. I mean, I remember that early going to these parties and having a good old time. The kids would like we bounce in and out, obviously.
Oh, you know, obviously, you're not just sitting there watching the whole game.
You couldn't sit there and watch a full football game at 5 years old. But the commercials were great. I always remember personally, and especially growing up outside of St. Louis. Anheuser-Busch commercials with the Clydesdales couldn't be beat. And they still, to this day, cannot be beat for me. You get choked up. It's a weird phenomenon. You get choked up when those damn horses get on the screen.
Those
They're so
damn
freaking majestic.
Or when the dog is trying to be one of the horses.
There's
Like,
there's a Dalmatian who's trying to be a Clydesdale.
The damn
they're
dog
on
gets
like
me
an
every
old-timey
time.
wagon fire truck. Like, come on.
Shoot, for me, it was always the Doritos commercials. I just thought like those were always the best.
Doritos were always some of the funniest. Doritos crushed it. Skittles was good for a while, then they got super weird.
And then of course,
Doritos always has really good ones.
The beer commercials would always step up and be good, but I feel like that's more of a more recent thing. I could be wrong. I mean, you had your classic Budweiser ones, like
you had Budweiser and Bud Light. You had the Budweiser Frogs.
That's right. That was a Super Bowl thing, wasn't it?
Yes, and then you had the Bud Bowl at halftime. I don't know if you remember that or not. You weren't watching the Super Bowl at that time, but as a 5-year-old, I remember that. I remember
these little bottles are playing football. This is the best.
Beer bottles playing football.
I'd rather watch this game, Dad.
Yeah, Bud versus Bud Light. That was always fun.
Then you had the Bud Night as of a few years ago.
The Bud Night was hilarious. Those commercials were great.
Yeah.
Those commercials were very good.
That's right. The Frogs were Super Bowl. I forgot about that.
They were classic, man. They were classic.
They were. Yeah, but Doritos, I feel like were always tops. And they paid a premium when they were always in that first round of commercials. Like if you were in that first, and Doritos was always there. Like, yep, it's Doritos time.
And guess what? Doritos are still an amazing chip. Very popular to this day.
Fun fact: my favorite chip of my son, or the favorite chip of my son.
Nacho cheese Doritos.
He's actually a Cool Ranch guy.
Ooh, I love the Cool Ranch.
He's a Cool Ranch guy. Actually, Our neighbor was very nice, and for his birthday, just brought over a little gift. And so he had like a card, and actually gave him like a couple bucks to Target. But also, it was a giant gift bag. I was like, why is it so big? 2 big old bags of Doritos. He's like, yes, best present I received.
That's amazing.
Yes,
that is spectacular. I used to love Cool Ranch Doritos, still do. And in fact, the Taco Bell makes the Cool Ranch Dorito tacos.
The Doritos tacos, Locos. Come on,
Doritos Los Tacos or whatever.
Doritos Locos Tacos. Yes,
amazing.
Although I think in that form, I think the nacho cheese is better as a taco. The Cool Ranch,
I think they're equally good. Yeah, it's a very good taco.
They're both very good tacos.
They're both very good. They also have like a Flamin' Hot, I think.
Whoa, like a Cheeto or like a Flamin' Hot Dorito?
Flamin' Doritos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I remember that in the first half. The second half is then that guy ended up selling the company and like moved away for a while, like moved down to Florida, and he bounced back and forth, but like he didn't host the Super Bowl thing anymore. And so we latched on with another crew, and I was old enough at that point to start participating in Super Bowl squares. That was the next like big memory I remember is Super Bowl squares were always fun. And that one, the kids would be downstairs rollerblading or playing video games or
how big was this downstairs that they were rollerblading inside?
It was a concrete unfinished downstairs,
but still, how big?
Big. I mean, it's probably I don't know,
3,000 square feet just in the basement.
No, maybe 800. I mean, it wasn't as big as it sounds like it would need to be rollerblading. It was like a 10-foot by 8-foot rectangle of concrete down there that you could, and there was like a foundational pole in the middle, and you could go real fast and then grab the pole and spin around it so you didn't go flying into the wall.
I mean, those are some tight quarters.
That was it.
If it's 10 by 8, actually, that's not that big.
It's not that big. It was enough to just to dick around rollerblades though.
True.
So we would do that for a while, and we'd play video games and stuff, and then we'd watch some of the football and the commercials and halftime and whatever, That was like the second half, and that was from more like late elementary to high school.
Okay. So that was a long-standing one. Pretty good.
Yeah, that was still the one. My parents would always go to that one every year until they moved out of Greenville, our hometown.
Wow. All right. So now kind of flash forwarding a little bit to post-college, at least for me, it was rough because, being with collegiate basketball teams, the Super Bowl always fell in the middle of the season, and half the times or 3/4 of the times I'm on the road for an away game. So I explicitly remember there were when the Patriots were playing the Giants for the second time, we were on the road. And so I had a DVR, and I was like, I'm going to record it. And then we were on the road. We were playing at Minnesota. The game was a late afternoon game. So I was like, okay, we'll be done. We're an hour behind though in Minnesota, so that kind of sucks. But if I just turn off my phone, like I'll be on a plane, so I'll turn off my phone, then it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And so like literally we're on the bus after the game and I just have my hood up. I have like headphones in just so I don't hear people because the game had started already.
Yeah.
So it's like, nope, I don't want to hear a thing. And I was doing pretty dang good. We pull up to the airport and I'm getting up out of my seat and I just pulled it out because I think our head coach was saying something. And then the bus driver was listening to it on the radio and had it blasting. He's like, and the Patriots are losing. I'm like, son of a
Damn it.
So, but after that, I was able to make it home. And then to watch that debacle until 4 a.m. was great. Just great.
Perfect season? Was that was 18-1?
No, that was not the perfect season. That was the second time we faced the Giants. Mario Manningham on the sideline.
That's right. Okay.
Yes.
So the perfect season was David Tyree.
That was David Tyree. Yes. So yeah, that was rough in the sense that, even when the Patriots weren't in it, it's still kind of a bummer that, that was, one of the social events and
yeah, for sure.
On the road on a bus or a plane or whatever it was.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. That sucks. We started, and as I've talked about on here, and as I've told you a lot of times, after college, I started doing this thing where my brother and I go to my parents' house.
True.
And just the three of us, my dad, my brother, and I watch. My mom watches some too, and she's in and out. She's either working up a killer appetizer, sampler combo, a vegan option with vegan options. I mean, just the works. She's either doing that or she's down watching with us. And so we started doing that for the last several years, and then recently even started bringing our sons into it as well. It's been a really cool like family thing, but it's not, you're not socializing with friends like a lot of Super Bowl situations. And I don't miss that because I've got, my dad and my brother. So it's, we have our own fun. And my brother and I are like, we're on the betting sites before we get, because like you can bet now in Illinois, but not in Missouri. And so we used to have to place bets in Tennessee on DraftKings or whatever, and then drive, and then you can't change them. You can find out if you want or not, but there's nothing you can do. Now we can like all the way up until the border. We're like, okay, I'm gonna make it. I got to stop at the gas station real quick, and you're like, okay, that's my last parlay.
How far are your parents' house from the border?
They're like 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes.
What you're saying is there's a chance
you could drive through St. Louis to go make a bet day of, but probably not gonna do that.
Probably not gonna do it.
So, but unfortunately, in that case, though, your bets are made. You're already done. So, like, there's no like lead up to the game on Sunday. We're not like talking about the bets all that much. We just talk about what we've already made.
True.
My brother he was using Bovada, which is like from Germany or somewhere in Europe. And in that one, you could still bet it day of because it was not regulated by the U.S. at all.
There's no governing.
For a long time, we would do that, and then we'd be making bets like during the game even.
Okay.
But yeah, Missouri has like you can gamble on the Mississippi River. They have river boats.
Well, that's like no man's land. That's
exactly right. And there are casinos now that are like next to the river that also are fine. I don't know.
Haven't you seen Ozark?
Yeah, I've seen Ozark.
Great show. Well, I know okay. Sorry, rewinding a little bit to the commercials. I know you weren't a Breaking Bad fan, but they're actually coming out with a Breaking Bad commercial for Popcorners of all these products. It's Popcorners.
Really?
Yeah. They actually released it online already. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
All right. How do we feel about halftime shows?
Indifferent. I mean,
any memorable halftime shows that you're
not really. Well, I mean, there's always the infamous one. I do remember that one explicitly, the Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, I guess and this is not just because it was the Patriots versus the Rams. It was, the 2001 Super Bowl. Like Bono came on. It was, it was a tribute to 9/11. So that was pretty good. That was pretty memorable right there. Well, I guess this wasn't halftime, or was it when the Ravens and the Niners were playing and the lights went out for an hour? Was that halftime, or was that just? I can't remember when.
That was right.
It was like the beginning of the third quarter.
It was either right after halftime or right before it. I think it was right after.
Ravens were destroying the Niners, and then the outage happens, and then the Niners came storming back. Didn't end up doing it, but it was close.
Yeah, that was wild. That was the Harbaugh. Yeah, Harbaugh brothers, and now we've got the Kelsey brothers.
Yeah, true. Did Mama Kelsey get approved to flip the coin or what?
I don't know. I know that position was out there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, That'd be
Damn
pretty
well
cool if they
should.
did that. They should do that.
They should do that. They probably will. She'll do something.
That's
She'll be
true.
honored in some way.
She'll be honored for having.
And for this lady who birthed 2 Super Bowl players,
Yeah.
one certain champion.
That's true. Rondé Barber and Tiki Barber could never have played each other in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Rondé Barber got one though.
The McCourtys played together.
They did play together, not opposing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't think of any other brothers right now.
I can't think of any brothers.
Oh, what about the Bennett brothers?
Martellus? I don't think
Yeah.
Martellus ever played a Super Bowl, did he?
Yeah, he won with the
Was he on
Patriots.
Seattle?
He won with
Or
the
the Patriots?
Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of Michael. Michael won it. Wait, no, Martellus won with the Patriots. Michael never won. Or he might have won, but they didn't play against each other. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Riveting.
The tight end Bennett won with the Patriots. I don't remember about the other one.
Yeah. The Watt brothers. There's a lot of brothers in the league, but
yeah.
Yeah.
The Watt brothers, the Bosa brothers. They could have done it this year, but they blew it.
They both blew it. Both in the playoffs.
True. So yeah, Super Bowl, man. So I guess now I do kind of want to get like my kids more involved, like Brady especially. And I was actually looking back in an old Facebook memory, so he was born 4 days or 3 or 4 days just before the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So I remember that explicitly because that was also the Falcons Super Bowl.
That's right.
And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. I was going to change his name.
His name was going to be Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan
Band.
So, but then he's won, and the Patriots are in the Super Bowl again against the Eagles. And actually, his smash cake was, again, shout out to Deanne, because this was a friend in Pennsylvania. She was spectacular at making these extravagant shaped cakes. She made one of an entire football stadium with the logos on each side. Like all the players were individual pieces, or excuse me, all the fans were individual pieces of sprinkles, like those circle. It was spectacular.
Oh my gosh.
But I remember that because obviously we lost. That sucked. And then the next year we played the Rams. So the first 3 years of his life, all he knew was Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I'm like, you are spoiled, you son of a bee.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
True. Yeah, that's funny. He's like, why isn't Tom Brady in here this year?
Yeah, like I thought that was just a thing. Like, again, the NFL script writers have to create a new narrative.
That's right. His retirement really caught them off guard. The 45-year-old retiring from the NFL caught him off guard.
So yeah, I'll be pumped to kind of get the kids more involved in it, just because it's just fun. Even if they don't understand what the heck's going on, it's just an event. This is just like one of the sporting events that encompasses everybody.
I remember I'm looking through the different ones to remember where I was when I watched each one of them. And I remember watching the New Orleans, Indianapolis.
Yeah.
It was Drew Brees, the year that Brees won. I was watching with my brother who went to Purdue, and just the two of us. And we were in his home. I think this one was probably one of his Louisville houses. And this is the first time we'd ever had. And so this is 2010. So like pretty prime drinking age, like right out of college, like still going pretty hard, didn't have kids. So, I was ready to rock.
I was ready to rock. I was ready to go.
We got that like Miller Lite 55 or something. There was like a 55 calorie beer. And we got like a 30 block of it and absolutely crushed it during the game and had no effect. Right? This beer is like 0.5% alcohol. It's so low gravity alcohol. I remember watching that whole game. We were just stacking the whole thing up on the table in front of us. And we were stoked, obviously, because the Saints won.
I remember with that Super Bowl, I was actually at my friend Bill Ferrara's house. We had some, he had a party going on. Coach Bill, go Florida State. And I remember one of the prop bets being how many times they're either going to show Eli Manning or just mention the Manning family, because obviously it's Peyton playing
Archie
and the Saints
against New Orleans. Yeah.
So I forget what the number was, but it was like over under 30 times. I think it was pretty close.
Yep. That was Archie.
Yeah.
I remember watching Carolina. When was
against the Patriots? That was like 04.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Carolina and Denver.
04. I'm talking about Carolina 04.
That was at school, man.
Yep, we were at Wake. I remember watching that at my cousin's house. They went to UNC. They lived in Winston-Salem, and so
Oh,
we were
okay.
all rooting for the Panthers.
I remember watching in the lounge, man. I was the only one rooting for the Patriots.
Yep, that makes sense.
Everyone was going, Jake Delhomme. He's so good.
Jake Delhomme.
They almost won that, though. They were winning at one point late in the game. It's pretty scary.
Steve Smith. Yep.
Yeah. Was that?
Those are the days.
How
about Indy Chicago when Rex Grossman made it?
Oh, God. Yeah, Rex Grossman, a starting quarterback for the Super Bowl.
They should have played.
That was a rainy one, too, right?
That was in Miami.
Yeah. So how about I saw an image, speaking of that Super Bowl when the Patriots played the Eagles. So it was the image of AFC or the championship weekend, and it was a drawing, and it showed the 4 quarterbacks like as if they were walking towards the Super Bowl stadium, and it was Blake Bortles, Tom Brady, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles. These are your 4 championship week quarterbacks who could be going to the Super Bowl.
Oh my God, I do remember when the Jaguars were good for a minute.
Yeah, that one year, and they played the Patriots well in that AFC Championship game. And then that was the year Case Keenum came in for the Vikings, had that miracle against the Saints, and
no call,
and then Nick Foles, obviously. So,
oh my gosh,
look at that quartet of quarterbacks.
You think it would have been obvious who came out on top?
You would have thought. You would have thought.
Nick.
BDN.
That'd have been some good ones, man.
Yeah, Super Bowl is great. Honestly, I know I am very spoiled that I had a lot. And like my team was 1-6, we've been in 10. Like I've been very spoiled in that sense. But honestly, with the Super Bowl, it's just something that for me now, and maybe just because I'm done, I've had enough championships. Like I just love the event. I just love the whole aura around it. As long as it's like a good game, like because like how crappy was that Ravens Giants? It's like, oh my God, it was like 40-7 or something.
Well, I was just looking at the Seattle Denver 43-8.
That was brutal too.
Seattle won theirs and they just got up and just throttled the Broncos.
Yeah,
Legion of Boom. Yeah,
that's all you kind of hope for. It's just like a good game that's exciting. And I know people were kind of down on the Patriots Rams of the recent one where it was like 13-3, just because it wasn't, but it was close. And like for me watching it as a Patriots fan, that was one of the most stressful ones, just because like, are we going to do anything? Is anything going to happen? Or are we just playing defense this whole time?
Well, yeah, one play could break the whole game open.
Right. And honestly, that's what it was. I remember that explicitly. It was the pass to Gronkowski. It wasn't for a touchdown or anything, but it was like a 25-yard gain to get them within like the 10. And that was like the biggest play of the game.
That was the big play. And he's the MVP. He caught that one pass that was really long.
One mediocre pass that made it. But it was actually a beautiful pass. He threaded the needle. But
our son took his first steps in the Patriots Seahawks, the game that the Seahawks should have won when they
should have
interception at the end. Yeah. Took his first steps during that Super Bowl. I'll never forget that.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep.
Okay,
that's pretty cool.
I see you. So yeah, at this point, I want a good game where it's just like exciting, and again, it just builds up everyone around you too. It's just like even for people who don't care, it's like, oh crap, it's close. What could happen? So yeah. Do you have a dog in this fight? Do you prefer one team over the other?
I don't have a dog in this fight. I will say, so due to some other things going on, we're going to end up hosting the Super Bowl here this year. We're not going to be able to go to St. Louis.
Okay.
But St. Louis has adopted the Chiefs now that the Rams are gone.
Okay.
They've gone on the Chiefs, which is
I guess they're not too far.
It's like 2 hours away from St. Louis, Yeah. And so they're all Chiefs fans now. So they're going to be rooting for the Chiefs. I like Jalen. Obviously, I've made that pretty clear. Yes. So I'm indifferent as far as who wins. Right. I think I would like to see Jalen win. And I just think the Chiefs are going to be there. They've already won one. They've been in 2. Like they're going to be there. I think it'd be cool to see the Eagles win, but I'm not going to be disappointed if the Chiefs pull it off.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, but I'm leaning more Eagles, just mainly selfishly again, because I don't want Mahomes to be able to reach Brady's records and milestones. And I'm nervous that he may. Just 5 straight AFC championship games, 3 Super Bowls. Yeah, a little nervous that he's going to be the guy to do it. So I kind of don't want to see him win. But again, all I hope for right now is a good game. And if the Chiefs end up winning, that's fine. I'm not going to be like, no. Mainly, I want a good game, and if the Eagles could win it, I'm happy with that.
I cue the text message I get as the confetti comes down on Mahomes after he throws a game-winning touchdown. No, you'll never be Brady.
You'll never be Brady. You'll never be him. Who was the last guy to keep you out of the Super Bowls? Brady. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna name my dog Mahomes. That's what I think of you.
Every time my dog goes number 2, he just took a Mahomes. Actually, that'd be more like. Although now we say, my son was big into Mario, the Mario Brothers video game. Great. So Mario's number 1, Luigi's number 2. So now our common thing: does Ember the dog have to take a Mario or a Luigi? It's a Luigi. It's a Luigi time.
He's got it's Luigi time. Luigi time.
Yes, so that is in our household. You taking a Luigi, or you just going to Mario? Or it's Luigi.
Does Ember understand? Is he like, Luigi? I got Luigi.
Luigi.
Give me the L. Let's go.
So yes.
All right. This is a fun trip down memory lane. On Thursday, we're going to preview the game. We're going to some prop bets again. We're going to have our predictions and all of the good things. But that's all for today on Super Bowl. We need to talk about our league-winning rosters from the beginning of the year because they were epically average.
Epically average. We had some good picks and some.
We had some good picks. Obviously, you can't control injuries, right? And so the expectation is you're able to pivot around injuries, and you're able to pivot when someone like Russell Wilson doesn't play very well. But
looking at my roster, my bench, I definitely would have pivoted a lot. My bench was good.
Your bench was really good. Mine was definitely a hit it or complete bomb. Your bench was rock solid. I will give you that credit for sure. And I will, spoiler alert, I will say your team outperformed mine by the end of the season. But let's go through a few of these players and talk about how that happened.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with my squad. So at the quarterback position, I had one Matthew Stafford, who, I thought coming in, obviously had a great year the year before. I thought adding Allen Robinson was only going to enhance it. Obviously, they lose OBJ, but I thought Allen Robinson could step right in. I figured Cam Akers was going to be the guy. The offense was not going to skip a beat. Woof. That was way off. Maybe the elbow was worse than we thought coming into the season. I think that definitely played a part. He never found Allen Robinson. Just never. Nor
did anyone for that matter.
Yeah. Just did not hook up with him. So he ended up with just under 2,100 yards. Again, his season was cut short. 2,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 139 fantasy points, which sat him at QB number 34. So
I had him as 33, but either way, he's just outside all of the other starting quarterbacks.
Yes.
And obviously at least one backup.
Yes. So that was unfortunate. So then I guess I'll jump to my bench. So who would have replaced him on my bench? I had Tua, which ended up being pretty solid, save for the brain scrambling and also missing a few games. But, he ended up with 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 292 points, which had him at quarterback 14. So that was all right.
Yeah, he missed 4 games. So not too bad. This one thing that kind of skewed this a little bit was you had a chance to replace him because you took 2 quarterbacks. At the same time, my quarterback didn't miss as many games as either of those guys. So not like an excuse, but that was a good play on your end. So you nailed it with running back. You crushed it with running back. I will say this was your strength, whereas I think my strength was definitely receiver. Yours was running back. You took Eckler, which ended up being RB1.
Because I was thinking going from I think I was saying I was drafting from the 4 or the 5 spot, and so I took Eckler, and he was running back 1 on the season, 380 points. I mean, he was a stud. So I mean, I hit that one. 915 rush yards, 13 touchdowns, 722 receiving yards. Hit on that one.
Too many stats.
Yeah. My next guy, DeAndre Swift, again, he also missed time as expected. He still ended up pretty solid considering the amount of time he missed. 542 rush yards, 5 touchdowns, 389 receiving yards, 192 points. It put him at running back 21, which, again, if you're drafting in a 10 to 12 team league, that's not terrible to be your 2 or a flex. But obviously the injuries, I should have thought about that a little bit more. So that's all right. He did okay.
The problem with him this year was that you got a lot of those points in chunks in games, and then he'd disappear for a few games. And so it wasn't consistent.
Correct. Very correct. It wasn't
however,
you couldn't always rely on.
Yeah, you did take on your first bench spot Travis Etienne, which ended
Yes.
up being a higher scoring running back than Swift.
Yeah, he was great. He started off a little slow because the question with James Robinson, well, one, we didn't even think Robinson would be ready to play, but holy crap, he was a starter. But then once they shipped off Robinson, because like, you know what? Etienne's pretty good. 1,100 rush yards, 5 touchdowns, 316 receiving yards, ended up with 216 points. He was running back 17 on the year. So
Yep.
I was happy with that to have Etienne. I also had on my bench as running backs Dameon Pierce, and I know he missed the last 3 or so games. He had a good rookie year, even with the lowly Texans, 939 rush yards, 4 touchdowns, 160 receiving yards, 172 points. He was running back 26, and that's missing the last 3 or 4 games.
So that's 4 running backs in the top 26, which is pretty killer,
Yeah.
especially if you're in a 10 or 12 team league.
And
we assume 10 on these drafts.
Yeah, and then my one dud of a running back was Damian Harris. He just was hurt all year, and then obviously the emergence of Ramondre Stevenson. He ended up at running back 48 with 400 something yards, blah blah blah. So
yeah,
but I mean for the other 4, I was happy with that. Very happy with that.
And the assumption is you would have mixed and matched them based on matchups and bye weeks and all that kind of stuff,
and flexes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and injuries and all that. So ultimately, it's tough to calculate. We weren't going to deep dive enough to calculate exactly how many points you'd play if you had optimal lineup each week. We just kind of put together your overall optimal
best lineup
and what we got there.
So
receivers were a little bit of a struggle for you.
Receivers were my struggle part, and once again, my bench receivers were better than my projected starting receivers because I went with Keenan Allen. And here's the deal: when he was healthy and playing, he was good.
He was great.
He was great. It's just he was not healthy and playing. He ended up with 752 receiving yards on 66 receptions, 4 touchdowns, 168 points. That puts him at wide receiver 40, but he missed a ton
7
of time.
games.
So that you can't have that.
Yeah, in 10 games, you get 168 points, 17 a clip. That's top 10, 15 receiver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But got to stay healthy. Already mentioned this dud, Allen Robinson. Again, I thought just he and Stafford were going to, with the focus potentially being on Cooper Kupp, I thought Allen Robinson could step right in, but he did not. He only played a few games anyway, sucked anyway when he was playing. Only ended up with 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. Wide receiver, all I put was who cares, he sucked. I think you put him at 85.
85, I looked it up. Yep.
Which sounds about right. But then on my bench, I did have Juju, who ended up being a very solid receiver. He had 78 receptions for 900, just under 1,000 yards, a few touchdowns, and wide receiver 26, which, again, if that was supposed to be my first bench wide receiver, I'll take that. And then my other bench guy was Chris Godwin. At first, he was falling down because no one was sure if he was going to be ready for the beginning of the season. Ends up he was, but then got hurt.
Yeah.
But he ended up with a relatively solid year, a little low on the touchdowns, had 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, 104 receptions. He ended up at wide receiver 17. So again, that was potentially my second bench wide receiver. I was happy with that. So honestly, my bench receivers would be my starters.
Yep.
I forgot about Cortland Sutton, a hot name again with your Russell Wilson thinking the Broncos offense is going to take off.
And he started out hot.
He started out pretty well.
Part of the season, he looked smart, and then he kind of just completely disappeared. 829 yards, 2 touchdowns, 160 points, wide receiver 43. So yes, my bench wide receivers were better than my starters. Yep.
For my tight end, Dalton Schultz, he missed a couple games. He was kind of had a nagging injury throughout the year, and then with Dak gone too, had some issues there. But tight end 11, he had 577 yards, 5 touchdowns, 145 points. It's just not terrible in the
tight end 11. I'll take that.
Yeah, the graveyard.
When he played, he was a top 5 tight end.
Yeah,
really. So you're happy with that?
Exactly. So that's my squad. So if you look at my starting lineup would have been based on everyone's results. It would have been my quarterback was Tua, running back Eckler, running back 1 was Eckler, running back 2 was Etienne, wide receiver 1 Godwin, wide receiver 2 Juju, tight end Schultz, and my flex probably would have been DeAndre Swift, maybe mixing in a little bit of Dameon Pierce, but we stick with Swift. So that ended up with me getting about 1,645 points.
Yeah, and that's including some missed time from Tua, from Godwin, from Schultz.
Yep.
That you obviously could have filled in somewhere. But those guys, these are your top scoring players in each position.
Yeah.
What I found really interesting, and not to be a hypocrite because you're going to hear the same line from me. This team scored more points than your team did in the Yahoo League.
Yep.
And the Yahoo League had an additional wide receiver slot. So these guys, if you'd have been able to draft this exact team in that league, which ended up being a 12-team league, so it's a little bit tougher, but there's an initial position per roster. and they outscored your team by 120 points. It wasn't even that close.
No, it
So,
wasn't.
there you
That
go.
could have been a league-winning roster in our league.
It would have been, I
teams.
think, would have been a league-winning roster in that league because you throw in another receiver, and yeah, you've been right up there.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to my crap fest
Your
here.
turn.
So I don't have all the stats, and I'm kind of glad because I got a little crossed. But I do have where they finished and how many points they had. So I had Russell Wilson. I didn't back him up, so I had to stick with him all year long. He finished his QB 17, which is actually better than I thought,
right?
Given how bad he was. He had 267 points. Whatever. So you swing and you miss on that. In the real league, I was able mid-season. People like Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, who we had a great do-it bet with. Those two.
I picked Jared Goff up after week 3, so he would not have been available. Just saying.
Okay, well, maybe after Russell was sucking, he would have been. But I also took Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, who both finished better than Jared Goff, and they were both available most of the season.
Just giving you crap.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. My turn.
Off.
Shut up. Your team sucks.
Off the board.
You missed the playoffs. All right, and running back one, I took Aaron Jones. So I think I was drafting. He was actually in my second round because I took a wide receiver in the first round here. I think I had like the 6th slot. I think was what I was looking at.
Yeah. So
Aaron Jones was the first running back that I took. He finished his RB7, which is exactly where you would have thought. 260 points. You'll take that. My second running back on my league winning roster, Javonte Williams. I mean, immediately gone for the season. So that kills you. That really hurts.
That hurts.
Trying to replace someone who's a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick is tough. However, wide receiver 1, first pick in my draft was Justin Jefferson, who ended up as the wide receiver 1 on the season, 378 points, a nearly historic year, absolutely crushed it, and that carried my team as far as it got in the first place. The second receiver on my team was Mike Williams, who was in and out of the lineup a lot, missed 4 games. He was up and down. Very typical Mike Williams. Everyone kept saying this is the year he's going to be more consistent. And if he'd been consistent, he'd been a monster. And it was exactly what we always see from him. Some big games, disappearing act. I don't know what it is, but he's boom or bust. He ended up as wide receiver 31. He had 180 points, but again, missed 4 games. So injuries are always a risk for him too. Tight end for me, Kyle Pitts. And this is the biggest. Wish you had that one back. I was all in on this guy. I took him in the 3rd round, I think, in this draft, maybe 4th. And he finished his tight end 34. He got injured midway through the season. He missed probably 4 or 5 games, but he was so terrible. I had him on my real team. I went all in on him on a couple teams. He was so bad. I dropped him mid-season, and I felt like I can't believe I'm dropping Kyle Pitts, but it was just like, I don't care what his name is. He is so bad. I cannot play him. I still fully believe in this guy's talent, but I don't know what they were doing in Atlanta. Would love to see him on a team that knew how to use a tight end. Anyway, tight end 34, 75 points. That killed me because I didn't take another tight end in my lineup.
Who takes 2 tight ends?
Not many people. So I had a flex in this lineup of A.J. Dillon, who was also super duper high on. I expected that he and Aaron Jones could both finish his top 15 running backs. Jones did. Dillon did not. He finished his RB 27. A lot of those points came at the end of the year. He had 167 points. Was okay for a flex, but not good for an RB2. However, on my bench, I had Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was an absolute beast, and he finished as wide receiver 7. I would slot him up to my starting lineup in this case. He had 271 points. Killer year for him. I think he's a set it and forget it top 12 wide receiver going forward. I took a swing on Rashad Bateman. I really like his game. But he got hurt early too and missed a ton of time. He finished wide receiver 110, but he only played 6 games.
6 games.
He was right around 9 or 10 points a game when he was playing. I don't think that offense ever got clicking this year, and even Mark Andrews had a way down second half of the year. So they had a lot of work to do there. I still believe in his talent as well, but you got to stay healthy, and so nothing you can say there. Someone I was hoping would be a nice flex for me down the road, Kareem Hunt. Really weird year for him. I drafted him in a couple leagues. All of a sudden, the team that was like a 2-headed rushing attack, and he was like the receiving back, and they both would get touchdowns, he disappeared. I mean, he's RB 40, 127 points.
Nick Chubb did have a spectacular year. It's like he had a great start too. So they're maybe just thinking, I mean, he's doing awesome. Feed him. But there was something off about Hunt this year and his usage. I mean, the Browns were a crap show. So that was disappointing to see how he
I don't know what that was all about, but swing and a miss on that one. DeAndre Hopkins, I stashed away knowing he was going to miss 6 games. He finished as wide receiver 46 despite missing 6 games. I get a lot of points out of him when he was there. 155 points. He played, I guess, 11 games, maybe 10. And so about 15.
He still missed 1 or 2, actually.
So yeah, you're talking 15, 16 points a game when he's playing, just like Keenan Allen. I mean, that's elite wide receiver territory, but he just wasn't healthy all season or wasn't able to play. I went with Michael Carter, thinking that he would be the guy, not realizing that Breece Hall was going to take over, not realizing they would trade for James Robinson, thinking that Michael Carter would get a shot here in New York, and he kind of did. I mean, he finished as running back 39, which is fine for your bench, 128 points, but he was in and out of the lineup, being healthy, not healthy, and then they were mixing all kinds of other people in there, including Bam Knight at the end of the season.
What was happening?
They clearly don't think he's going to be their RB1. So,
it's clearly Breece, but yeah.
That's disappointing. And then Kadarius Toney, who, again, could never stay healthy, certainly wasn't healthy for the Giants. I'm just in love with this guy's talent, but it's the same story all over. He's Percy Harvin. I mean, he's just same idea. Where it's just like, when he plays, you're probably going to get some good points. He's not going to play that much. He finished as wide receiver 106. He played 9 games. I'm not even sure. I mean, he probably finished 6, 5, 4 maybe. I mean, every time he played, he was leaving injured early. So he didn't get a lot out of him. So he didn't turn out to be that much. He'll probably be an absolute monster with Kansas City, but
they can get him clicking, man. Yikes.
Yeah, doesn't really matter at this point. So I was worried this was going to be an absolute devastating, terrible lineup. It ended up not being that bad. I was outweighed by a couple of guys.
Yeah.
So my
really
lineup
not that bad.
My lineup ends up being Russell Wilson, RB1 Aaron Jones, RB2 for me. My second best running back still was AJ Dillon, which is disappointing because he was RB27. But crushed it with the receivers. I had wide receiver 1, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 7, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then Mike Williams ended up being my flex at wide receiver 31. So did pretty well there. Tight end killed me. Kyle Pitts played 10 games. He finished tight end 34, as I mentioned. I ended up with 1,600 points, about 44 less than you. And you can say all of those and then some were made up in the tight end. You had 70 more points at tight end than I did. And so just that alone would have been enough if I'd have been able to find a better tight end than Pitts. So obviously both of us missed some time in these optimal lineups.
Right. I mean, there's still a lot of...
I mean, it's equally shared. It's not like I had it any worse than you did.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, we both experienced injuries and whiffs and all that. But still, I mean, these could potentially really be league-winning rosters. I mean, with these optimal lineups, because, I mean, if you were going to tell me at the end of the year, I would have a starting lineup of Austin Eckler, Travis Etienne, Chris Godwin, Juju, the DeAndre Swift, my flex, and Dalton Schultz, I'd be like, yes, please. Like, that's a playoff team right there, if not in the championship. And for you to have, I mean,
Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson,
Amon-Ra, like those three right there.
Nucleus. You know, you've got to have more than that. But
huge hitters. So,
and DeAndre Hopkins, you know, by the second half of the season.
Yep. So I mean, again, while we did have a lot of whiffs, there are also some gold in here these are both playoff teams, potential championship caliber. Potential.
Yeah, because what you do is for instance, I replace Russell Wilson with someone like Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, and all of a sudden they're a top 10 quarterback. You replace Kyle Pitts with literally anybody. I did this year. I was like flipping guys throughout the season. I ended up with David Njoku for a while when he was hot. Like I had all kinds of different guys I was plugging in here. But there were options. There were options at tight end to get you 5 to 10 points every week.
Mm-hmm. So interesting though. It's very interesting. And I still think we did relatively well, even though first glance you're like, good God. I still think we did all right, man.
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'll remember next year I'm going to draft 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, so I just make sure I've got enough.
just for this purpose alone.
This segment. No, but next year I'm taking Mahomes and Kelsey 1-2 at the turn.
That's it, and then you're fine.
I'm done.
No, that's what you just don't steal my strategy now.
I'll snake you.
So that was fun. Fun to go back and also scary to go back. God, Stafford and Robinson will haunt me for years. But interesting to see back on our league winning rosters. Again, I still think they're good. The end product would have been good rosters and definitely playoff teams, if not Final Four teams. So still hold by it. I will stand by this for both of our teams.
Okay.
So yes, game's coming up in a few days. We will preview it, give you our picks, give you some prop bets for the actual game. Get hyped, get the belly ready. So until next time, keep on folding.
Fold it.